Welcome in final game of the spring split here at VCS English, as we have a literally unimportant series because nothing can change in the standings. We have our official locks for everybody as these two teams, they're just looking to play for bragging rights and for the end of the split, as GAM takes on Saigon Buffalo, a pairing that we would have expected to be finalists, I think, coming into the beginning of the split, but as fate would have it, Saigon Buffalo has dropped out of playoffs, and GAM, as usual, is taking the number one spot away from everyone else.
Yeah, but it's definitely a rivalry between those two teams historically. So I think, thinking and putting myself into Saigon Buffalo's shoes, I think I would be looking to get that to destroy that 13-0. Honestly, I would want to make that 13-1 and not 14-0.
Yeah, you can push yourself in a number of different ways, and for Saigon Buffalo, obviously, losing means nothing. You're going to remain in fifth place no matter what. I think a lot of people know that this team had a lot more in the tank that they could have pushed into playoffs, especially after that series we just saw. It feels like they could have been in the ranks of Cerberus and SBTC relatively easily. But now, I mean, sitting in fifth place, the only thing they have left is to try to ruin this perfect split from GAM. And building on everything that they've kind of had this split, obviously they tried some very, very different things. They full subbed out BJ, who has been at or near the top of the jungle pool for 3-4 seasons now for a rookie that they believed was going to do it. And do you have an opinion on that? I'll just ask you for that. What are your thoughts on Guri over the split? Because they pulled BJ out, who is somebody who did a lot of amazing work for Saigon Buffalo since he was came in the inception of the team, basically when they had to come through the promotion tournament. And Guri has been. I just want to know what are your kind of opinions on his performance over the split?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like it's a bit unfair because to be honest, like, BJ was tortured for now 2 years, I think, by the existence of Froggy. And they basically made his life miserable by keeping Froggy on, and it ends up with him being benched. And it's like, how are you benching BJ and not Froggy? Mm-hmm. And for everybody who's asking themselves, what the hell is this guy talking about? I personally came in here and Froggy was running down my favorite team, so I'm a certified Froggy hater, and I will never change. And no reasonable stats will ever convince me that Froggy is not bad. So I think no, I mean, BJ had his flaws, and I think he had always was one of the weaker parts. I mean, especially the mid jungle duo. I mean, a lot around Froggy, right? But like that mid jungle duo is a very supportive mid jungle duo, and that could be very hit or miss. Like especially going up against GAM, we had a lot of situations where the mid jungle duo just couldn't stand up to Levi specifically, and BJ couldn't stand up. So I guess they were trying something different, and especially Saigon was always so close to getting that championship, and I feel like at some point there can be the feeling in the team where you just feel like you have to change something to get that last step, because so often it was close but not enough, and I feel like you at some point have to change something, and maybe they thought that was it. In the end, it didn't work out too well, but I don't really blame them for changing that specifically, because I feel like, yeah, this feeling of, well, something has to change, so we're changing that is understandable.
It's really strange to me over the course of the season. Like you had said, I don't necessarily want to put a bunch of blame onto BJ, and I get that you have a talented rookie in Guri kind of sitting behind them. When Guri came in, I was excited because I'm like, okay, this guy, you go back to VCS B days, and he was playing these like hard carries. He was playing things like Graves. He was power farming. He actually completely shafted one of the other VCS junglers inside VCS B when they were still down there. And so I was really excited to see that look. And there have been these moments for Guri where it's like, okay, Talia has been amazing. It's been permabanned against them basically all season long. And a handful of other champions have been really good as well. But they're just, at no point have I ever just been like, wow, I really think that Guri is the right choice for the squad. BJ's always been there. And this is while Hodgman's not having the split of his life. Froggy is still Froggy. I know you're not particularly adverse. To me, like, we saw Froggy go from 4 CS per minute Kalista mid lane to a serviceable mid laner. So maybe that's where our bias comes in, is we're just like, oh yeah, Froggy's not actually legitimately running it down. So maybe some of that. Not that I think that he's one of the best in the league at the moment, but again, with these two players not having the greatest of splits, even Shogun, I think, not having the greatest of split, I'm really confused why the blame got thrust onto BJ and that they haven't tried anything else in terms of substitution or even bringing BJ back in at some point. But that doesn't matter as the split's already over. Now it's time to make some plays happen as we get a triple marksman ban from GAM on the bottom side of the map. Shogun's not allowed to play the game. On the opposite side, no Heimerdinger, no Jace, and definitely no Levi Wukong.
Yeah, I mean, it is still the Shogun show. I think he really burst out. I think it was MSI last year where he really burst out on the scene when everybody was like Gumayushi and Keria, and then BJ and Taki came out and Shogun and Taki came out and clapped them level 1 with the Alistar. So I think taking out those aggressive champions for him really is strong. Now we see the Gragas pick up, and I really like that because that should be a multi-flex. And especially Taki known for playing some more supports than usual as well, so I could see that being a Taki pick as well if, for example, the Rakan comes out as an answer.
Yeah, the big thing is that I actually don't think that they have necessarily run this Gragas particularly flexibly, which is really crazy to think about. That Hazmed in the past has actually been a really famous Gragas player. He's got some really solid Gragas mechanics, and also, you have Froggy in the mid lane who should have a champion Ocean. You've got Taki who's got a champion Ocean. They have run it basically exclusively in the jungle for Curry, and in my opinion, that is the worst place to put it. I really think he might actually legitimately not be the best Gragas player on his team by any. He might be the 4th best person to put this champion on. And so it's been shocking to me to see them go back to it again and again. Was that insta-locked or not? Diana is Froggy's favorite champion. He plays this every opportunity he can. He used this last week when they were playing, or I think earlier this week when they were playing, and he did crush on it pretty effectively. But it is a favorite of Froggy's.
Yeah, it's definitely a Froggy special, and I'm excited to see what he can bring on that champion. It has been a bit hit or miss in past seasons when he's picked it up, but it's definitely something he can carry his team on, and he kind of needs us to carry his team on as well.
Yes. I'm also jumping over to GAM's side because we're going to have some time in the draft. We don't have to establish too much in terms of the gameplay here. I think if GAM goes down a game, they're never going to make a substitution. But if they win this first game with relative ease, I wouldn't be shocked to see Playcool come in. Playcool was, you probably recognize the name from OSE because they came in with Uji, and then obviously Playcool is these two big playmakers, and the team dissolved because they got kicked out. And we don't really know what's going on with Uji, who is like the MVP and like the all-around like favorited of everybody. But Playcool is actually a beast too. Earlier in the split, came in and had a record-breaking game in the mid lane here for GAM. And so if they go up a game in the series, I would not be shocked if they decided to say, "Hey, Cotty, hey, Style, we're gonna throw Playcool and get him some reps in a game that doesn't really matter that much."
I mean, I could understand that, and I would like that, especially if you actually have the ability to swap him in for specific things. Now, we see the Rakan coming out, so it is most likely going to be the Gragas in the jungle position, which, again, I agree with you. I don't really like him not being flexible. He could be going top, especially if Kiaya goes for something like the Jax, I want to say, or Jax is planned, which tells me that the Gragas probably goes jungle.
Almost certainly. I am a little shocked that the Saigon Buffalo bot lane got control of Zeri Rakan at R4, because this is a duo that's getting picked at it's like Rakan B1 and then immediately B2 is like Zeri a lot of the time because of how strong the combination's been recently. So getting it this late is pretty cool, although Zin's going to throw the Thresh in there as a bit of a counter to this Rakan.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I see about it is that especially this Jinx Thresh is pretty fine into that combo, so you're doing pretty alright there. So it's not surprising me too much because I can see them just being ready to play that matchup specifically, and at least you know what is coming, right? Then the crazy picks coming out. Now Malphite being hovered would be surprising pick for Kiaya, but it is locked in, and that now means that Gwen could be picked for Hazmet. And he is a really prolific Gren player in the past. My dude, just pick Gwen. I mean, okay, they have a lot of AP, so I would understand them going something like the Darius or Olaf.
Okay. Hazmet not having the most incredible splits, also throwing him onto another tank might just be the responsibility of this squad. Scion would have been another option. He's actually won quite a bit on the Scion, but clearly they don't go back to it. They instead say, hey, Casante's the right play here up against the Malphite. That is not true, right? Malphite has been like a pick that people have used into Casante pretty consistently. That feels like a misread to me from Saigon Buffalo's top laner.
I mean, it depends a bit on what you want to do with the Cassandra. I feel like Cassandra can be very strong into Jinx, specifically to lock her down, make sure she can't play the game. And it's something that, of course, works into Malphite. It's not like Malphite wins the lane into Cassandra. It's just you press Q, you run away. Like, welcome to Malphite gaming on top lane. Press Q, run away. And I feel like that's just one of the matchups where you do that.
Yeah, the other day I was playing a Malphite mid game because the other person picked Zed and I wanted to make them suffer. So I picked Malphite mid and I had the most damage in the game despite building full tank, which was pretty fun. Malphite's a pretty strong champion right now, which is why GAM has picked that up a little bit more recently. I actually wouldn't be shocked if they flex that into the mid lane eventually, because I think Kadi actually has a pretty decent Malphite mid lane compared to, which is a weird statement to say that somehow I know the ability of some random mid laner on some random tank champion. But if I recall, Kadi's played it in the past and he's had a good Malphite mid lane. So maybe a little bit of the late season prep kind of popping out here for GAM, throwing people off the game a little bit, knowing that Malphite's going to have to be something that they pay attention to. That's the other thing that we're kind of looking at is, again, GAM, they don't need to throw all of their prep at the wind into Saigon Buffalo, but experimenting with some little tiny picks off to the side would be a pretty cool thing, because they've done it a little bit as the season's kind of wrapped up. This would be the best situation to do it in, because you're not going to get many better scrim partners than Saigon Buffalo to really test your mettle against.
No, absolutely not. And then realistically, you end up probably scrimming SPTC towards playoffs if you're still scrimming playoff teams, right? Because you're probably going to meet them last. I expect Wales to move on. Maybe we scrim Wales once or twice as well. That's usually what we hear from LEC teams, how they scrim. And then Cerberus, of course, the team that you're going to stomp. Looking at runes, that's going to be Tank Diana. And let's see if she's building Heartsteel. I wanted to say
that would be a banger.
Honestly, though, if you're going Heartsteel, do you have enough damage to win this game? I don't think so. I legit do not think you have enough damage to win the game, because if Gory isn't gonna like 1v9 it,
We'll see. It's possible Froggy's just using this as a stacking mechanism. Maybe eventually you like swap up into top lane, you take a play against Kiaya, but Froggy is the only person who knows Froggy's intentions until we get a chance to see them in the post. Hindsight's 2020 in this particular circumstance. As we step into the beginning of our final series of the split here in VCS English. Also, just as another mention to this Diana pick, that is a Soraka skin. Like if you took the blade away and you gave her a staff, that's just Soraka. Like you cannot tell me otherwise. What? I saw it. I'm like, why is there a Soraka on my screen right now? I don't understand.
I mean, I'm surprised that Froggy doesn't play more mid lane Soraka. I feel like he's the player that is fine losing lane and then just doing Soraka things. So maybe he mispicked, thought it was Soraka. And here in top lane, we can already see Kiaya and Hazmet trading a lot. It's usually those Kaysanta lanes. You have to trade into Kaysanta, because if he goes full life to your turret, he just dives you. Especially if you lost some HP before.
Yeah, it's pretty immediate. Okay, level 2 was hit early by Zinnin's style, which means that you can't make that cool Pog slide play happen from Shogun and Taki, but it doesn't matter. Both bot lanes have gone for Cull as well, as they probably anticipate that this lane is going to end up being a pretty lax one. Not much aggression, unless Zin hits a really dirty hook and then, on to Shogun, and Shogun doesn't have cleanse up and there's no counterplay from Taki. But unless all these other things happen, it seems unlikely that either Rakan or Thresh are going to find a sticky enough engage without influence from the jungle position. As both junglers did end up on bottom side, they path from top into bot, so both of them are down here. Might get a little action around that Scuttle Crab if we're lucky.
We might see, but overall, I think if Silence didn't have the priority, so it should be better for the Vi. You could also look for a landing gank once you hit level 3, which is now the case. Maybe getting a flash from Shogun here early to just make sure that he can't really play the lane aggressively at all. As we see both junglers moving here, Froggy has first move, Akati is on the run, and bot lane is fighting.
Yes, bot lane fighting all at once. Vi showed up at the right time. and Guri was able to shove out. I don't see who got. I don't think the scuttle grab wasn't actually taken from either side. It's also funny. You said Froggy has first move. I don't think he had first move. He just kind of took first move. The wave was better for Cotty, but that's kind of the way that Froggy moves in this game. Is just he just kind of does as he pleases. As we can end up getting a flip for the scuttle crab here. I don't think I've seen that one in a hot minute. Not since Blabber did it against Evos. Okay, here we go. A little bit of a play. Forced out flash from Levi, but he did get the scuttle crab, so we call that a win.
Wouldn't be too sure if I would call that a win because I honestly okay, so Guri just walks to topside crab, takes that crab, and then trades. I feel like that's I would call that a win if I was Guri.
Listen. But he got the gold though, right? Okay, Hazmet is.
Hazmet?
I don't think he has the mana for a Q. He came real close to getting a kill there, but yeah, I think he ran out of mana.
So that's kind of how the matchup goes early, especially if you're going grasp as Kiaya. At some point, you're just tanky enough to survive, so that's kind of how it goes. But I wouldn't expect him to win the lane, even though Hazmet had a pretty bad split. I mean, it's as easy as it could get with K-Sunter.
Yeah, getting very early into the Sunfire as well is going to help quite a bit against Kiaya. That wave clear is just going to get better and better for Hazmet as the game kind of ticks on. As things have been relatively passive, again, the loss of the flash on Levi, but nothing else really to speak of so far inside of the game to kind of continue with. It's not going to be a full tank Diana, as we're getting at least I'm guessing it's either going into Nasters or it's probably going to go into Demonic. If I had to take a wild guess, the first item dip here for Mr. Frogger in the mid lane.
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Why exactly did Vi get the other crab?
So if I had to take a guess, we were talking about this, and you said he could just, Guri could just run immediately to topside and take that other crab. What I'm guessing happened is that Guri was attempting to not get out macroed by Levi, because Levi could back, and then if he ran directly to topside, he'd take the scuttle, then have to find a back or start into a clear without another item. So instead, Guri just kind of cheated it back, and as a result, Levi went up to topside, grabbed crab, and then started clearing towards bot side. Which also leads him to being ahead in camps because the Gromp is still up and Guri's looking for a gank right now. So there's your response. That's what I got for you. Double scuttle.
Okay, well, double scuttle was taken, but style should die. At least that's the plan here.
No! Okay, no, Shogun's not going to take another tower shot. I was like, there's no way that Zin just absolutely gets to him. Froggy wants the smoke. He has level 6. He can pop off. They've got a wave underneath the tower. They just got to make it happen. Zin can, or he's going to bounce off of Zin. That's going to be the play. The Shogun gets it. Actually, didn't even take more than one tower shot right there. Scotty's also showed up in time as well. Froggy's got the ultimate to be able to pop. That's a big ultimate. Moonfall's going to do a bit of damage. Shield's going to come through, but that is an instant clap onto Froggy. So he just didn't have the health back. Nice W coming out from Taki to defend Shogun just a little bit longer. They don't end up trading kills as Guri's going to be here. Hook is going to miss Taki as the flash is able to get him away. Heal's going to come down onto Guri. Charm is going to actually tag him. And just like that, GAM Esports goes up 3-1.
Is that an angle where we just FF and go next quick? Because I mean, I don't know how to play the game now against Levi and Kadi, and it's all because Guri doesn't know what positioning is. Imagine Guri just walks through this Kadi.
Yes.
Imagine he just ease over wall and walks away.
The other direction, yeah.
And then also Froggy, I'm not sure what Froggy is doing here. Anyways, he's suiciding. We snowball that entire thing into Shogun being run down. Taki is trying his best to defend, but in the end, it isn't enough. Flash hook from Zin misses, but Kadi hits the E, and with that, Guri dies as well. And it's 2 kills for the Ari, 1 kill for the for Levi on the Vi, and that means it's probably doomed.
Yes, I mean, it seems very likely that that's the case. I've seen crazier kind of turnarounds from Froggy's Diana. The cool thing about Diana is that her damage is, especially if you're going for more tankiness, is never really super high. So really all that matters is that your hitting abilities. So Froggy's cool just dumping farm and continuing fighting if they can get somebody on strong enough itemization. Maybe the plan is to just juice up Shogun as much as possible and eventually get to a point where Guri drops an ultimate, Shogun's able to do damage, and Froggy just pulls them together so that you can hit everybody in one fell swoop. But that's going to be a ways out because they're going to be down a decent amount of gold to start things off in the Dragon. First one of the game goes over to GAM as well.
Absolutely for them, and Guri has to get something because he's the main AP damage source. Because you said Froggy is not yet going for the hard steal. He could still go it after the Death Stance. Not the Death Stance. Demonic
Good.
Embrace.
Demonic, yeah.
I mean, Death Stands First would be a new one on the Diana.
Banger, by the way. Terrible
It
item,
did
but
not
yeah,
get. I mean, it did get changed on 13.7, so
It
it's
did,
not
yes.
as terrible anymore.
I meant more specifically for Froggy. I mean, you know what?
Yeah,
if he needs the AD, if he's gonna go AD Diana, I mean.
You know, okay, Style has ghosted. It's
Uh-huh.
ghosting back and forth. It's being hit. Why are we
we
inting
go.
on the turret? Okay. I mean, he got like
What?
3 minions.
Am I? But I'm guessing he thought that the lantern was going to be enough to save him, and the lantern was out, and he just the barrel got thrown, killed him. I don't know what in the world that was, but it buys Shogun so much more here.
So you wanted Shogun to be juiced up. I think
Uh-huh.
this guy is juiced. He has 2 kills, 2
Yeah.
platings, nearly a third one as well, and
Also filled Cole
Carl
and a 12
soon.
CS.
So he's definitely juiced. And we've seen today what a Fed Zeri can do in a game. Slater has already shown it, and I think Shogun definitely, at least when you look at last year, one of the best AD carries, if not individually the best AD carry throughout the last year, and he can definitely carry games.
This game, this season, I think for Saigon Buffalo, one of the things that they've been missing more than usual is that Shogun has not quite been able to have that like top end carry potential. There were a lot of games last year that Shogun basically like he was in a 1v5 situation and was able to come out really cleanly with big team fight wins for Saigon Buffalo. And this season, it feels like those have been more far and few between. I'm not really sure why. Osmed doing fine in Kiai. The trades are okay. It's just, he's not able to kind of find Pater with any sort of kills anytime soon. But hopefully this game kind of turns the fate here for Shogun, because, again, it wasn't the greatest of seasons. I don't even know that I would put him up there in terms of ADC voting, because, again, it's been a bit of a rough split for Saigon altogether. But in this game, he certainly has the ability to do so. He's set up with Taki. He's set up with a bunch of frontliners. If he's got the damage, he can put out the damage this game.
And that he has to do. Hazmat, of course, being up 30 CS in top lane as well, is in a decent position. Now All Out is being pulled, but 2-man, and he should be dead. Well,
yes.
Jungle diff.
Levi finding a gank, able to get on top of the top laner, and now Kiaya gets a little bit of assistance. Of course, bot lane, that means that they have to abandon post on bottom side, because they know Guri's going to be sitting here making sure that Shogun and Taki have all the assistance they need. Rift Herald's going to get popped in the middle of the river.
Where's that going?
It's going mid, but
yeah. I mean, Saigon tries to defend it. Can't do so. It did take 2 platings.
Yes.
Style did get half of them, I think. I hope that Zin didn't take anything, but yeah.
Okay.
Didn't see, sadly. And you know who's getting solo platings?
Yeah, Shogun.
Yeah, he's one happy Zeri. I can tell you that much. Kati now trying to lock him down. Has the Everfrost.
Okay. Yeah, we're alright. I was worried a charm would come out. He was Guri though.
Guri is here.
Okay, that's just a death.
Nice. And for Surret. So that's a shutdown. I mean, GAM just decided to feed it all into Shogun. I mean, Saigon clearly has a game plan, and that's feed the Shogun. And the thing is that GAM also clearly has a game plan, which is feed the Shogun.
Yeah, feed Shogun. I mean, here's originally the trade was this, right? It was like, okay, you get like a couple of plates on bottom tower, and the exchange is that we get a couple plates into Style in the mid lane, and we get to kill top lane. It's like, okay, not a great trade, but it's at least a trade, right? Like you're getting something for something.
Yes.
Then you TP on Kati, you int to Shogun and Guri, and then you give first tower blood over to Shogun as well. This is after Style did basically exactly the same thing when the turret was at like 4 plates. Our playoff teams are in a snooze mode right now, Tim. I don't understand it.
Yeah, it really feels like they just decided, okay, we're all secured for playoffs. Let's just not do anything useful. And they just took a vacation. They took the G2 vacation right before playoffs.
Facts.
And yeah, it's not looking pretty right now. First items have come in for everybody on the side of Saigon and Buffalo. On the other side, Jinx still holding out for her most likely Gale Force, I would expect, in this game. Maybe she's going for the Kraken Slay as well, but I expect the Gale Force. Hazmat going for Kiaya. Kiaya has to ult out. All ult though also pulled from Hazmat. So in the end, ulti trade for the top laners.
So if I am going to piece this together correctly,
Yes.
because I think I've done a bit of research in the side to figure out what Froggy's going to be building. Next should be the Abyssal Mask, and then it's a tank item, so it's going to be a tank mythic, is what the combination of items is going to be here.
Okay, did you look at the solo cure?
I did not, no. So I have no idea whether it's going to be hard to steal or not. If I did guess, it's probably Radiant Virtue, but...
Yeah, I mean, that is possible. Let's see what his next item is gonna have in store. Right now, he's looking for Kati. Kati, though, with the Ghost and the Flash, should be safe always. And I'm actually not sure if Kati doesn't just beat Froggy, anyways. And,
it's probably Jack Show. That's probably what it is. It's probably Demonic Jack Show and Abyssal, which would give him a decent amount of damage as a frontliner. But
you remember how I said that 15-minute 2 items on Zeri is an issue?
Yes.
We have a 14-minute 2 items Zeri now.
We're good then. That's not a problem, right?
Yeah, I know.
We have to wait 20 more seconds before it becomes an issue.
Fair enough. Stylo has finished his first item now as well. Kraken Slayer has actually come in, so he really wants to kill that K-Santa badly, which understandable. Also, of course, Froggy going for high HP, so the extra DPS just helping out to get those frontliners down. I mean, overall, Stylo probably is not going to have the easiest game against Rakan, Gragas, K-Santa, and Diana. That doesn't sound like a fun draft as an immobile AD carry. On the other hand, Shogun, of course, against Malphite and Vi. Yeah, not too fun as well.
Yeah, not in the slightest. And also, it seems like Saigon Buffalo has caught complete wind of understanding that they have complete running of the map right now. It feels like every one of their members is strong enough to compete with their opposition, and Shogun is just so far ahead, it doesn't matter. They're going to trade Rift Herald for full tower on bot side. It is split between Kati and Leave. Okay, not quite yet, but I'm sure it will go down to Kati eventually. Although I'm not really convinced about giving the Ahri this gold, because it feels like that's not really the person you want to be giving this to. As Kiai is going to get jumped on by Hazmed, dragged back into the rest of the team a little bit, has to force out the Malphite ultimate, as it is going to be 1 tower for 1 tower without the Rift Herald going down, which is a great kind of trade of plays. It's just a free Rift Herald being tacked on to everything else here for the side of Saigon Buffalo.
Absolutely, but somebody has to answer this bot wave soon, because you're just going to be losing that. On the other side, Kiaya, of course, answering, and in mid lane we saw at least some damage coming down onto that mid lane tier 1 turret. That's always the important one, to break open the map, to make sure that you can push vision into the enemy jungle, and make sure that the enemy jungle is always warded for you. And something to note is that Xin does have the stopwatch now, so always keep the eyes peeled on that, because usually that stopwatch, especially on support, can make one free play for him, basically, where he can't die and buys more time. And the Herald should take down this tier 1 turret, which means Saigon should have more free running on the map now than they already had.
Yeah, and again, more gold kind of poured into Shogun on the front end of this one. Hasn't backed for a hot second. I think he's looking for one, and might even have solid components for a 3rd item in the works. Navori might be on the way. Infinity Edge might be on the way. Bloodthirster might be on the way. A lot of those items going to make him an infallible.
Let's be honest.
Yeah,
it's not Navori.
Yeah, it's not Infinity. I actually, my bids on Bloodthirster actually more than anything else. I get the sense that Shogun thinks he can 1v5 this game, and I think he's right if he builds Bloodthirster, to be honest.
I have given up on the Infinity Edge train, honestly.
That's fair.
And I think considering the region we're in and what was built until now, I think that's a reasonable take for me. Also, Hazmed, now we can slowly see that Kiaya isn't falling behind further, because the Malphite now tanky enough that he can't really be all in by the K-Santa anymore. Yeah. K-Santa, of course, just farming up as well. He wants to get into those team fights and make Style's life miserable, because AD carries have no rights.
That is true. They're the most punished class in all of League of Legends. Notably, Shogun has actually done a little bit of diligence here, and I think if you build Infinity Edge, that's probably a really good choice for teamfighting. If you build Navori, you're sticking with what's typically considered meta, although that's starting to go away from their case. If you go Bloodthirster, you're trying to 1v5. Instead, he goes Last Whisper because he sees the Jack Show Malphite, and he's like, all right, somebody's got to kill this guy, and nobody else on my team's got damage. So he's probably making the responsible choice in doing so. I'll give him a bunch of props for that, because a lot of people probably would have defaulted to Navori instead of going for an Infinity Edge or Last Whisper item. Zeri is a lot of magic damage, which is one of my qualms about building Last Whisper. But again, if you're trying to shred the armor and getting that percentage kind of bonus damage against high health targets is going to be valuable one way or another.
Yeah, especially since Levi usually should be stacking HP as well, of course, on that Vi. Flash out now from Froggy. A few ultis flew there. I'm not sure about the Style ulti. Also, Style used Ghost as well, so I'm not sure what he's doing, but he's definitely motivated.
Let him cook, Tim. Let him cook.
Yeah.
He's getting something done right now. Saigon Buffalo wants to infringe upon this dragon. Hosmed's kind of leading the charge alongside Guri as they have options. Shogun wants to get in the pit, wants to get going. I feel like they only need to worry about the fight more than anything else, as that's going to be a box kind of thrown up. Shogun's still in the back, completely untouched. Malphite ultimate's not going to go in the back line either, as that's going to be one. Vi went diving for Shogun, and Shogun's still untouched in this fight. Let him auto-attack everybody. Why don't you, GAM? Let him just kill everyone on the damn field. I swear. Okay, Kiaya is not going to go down, but okay, now Shogun goes in a little bit late in the fight, flashing away. He's going to have to clean up a lot. He has the damage for it. That's going to be another one going down. Shogun getting the bounce. He actually figured out where Xin is because of the bounce on the ultimate. It's probably just going to chase him down. He can even sit behind his minions if he's worried about getting hooked. And Xin throws it the wrong way anyway, as that's a 3-for-1, I think. Or it was a 3-for-3 of the other side, but they didn't get the dragon. See, I thought the dragon went down, and now it's not going to be the case. Instead, Saigon Buffalo walks away with the big win as Shogun gets a bunch of kills.
Yeah, and I feel like this could have been much worse. This could have been a complete ace for Shogun here. In the end, he only gets 2 kills, I think, and is somewhat okay. Or it's somewhat okay for GAM. Levi can't steal it, isn't in time, and in the end, it's Drake for Saigon Buffalo and everything they wanted. And I feel like Jinx has so much harder game if Kiaya doesn't ult Shogun, and Kiaya I think ends up ulting frontline here.
Yes.
Guri kind of runs it, but it's fine in the grand scheme of things. And I'm not sure why Malphite thought that Froggy was an appropriate target to ult, but he was convinced.
I'm also confused. Shogun right here is where the decision-making was a little bit curious to me, because Shogun ended up turning, instead of going right into Kadi and Style when they were super low health, instead kind of makes the decision to go back for Kiaya, ends up, and that's an ultless Malphite, so like you're not really under any threat as it is. Does still end up cleaning up a couple of kills, which is a positive kind of twist for Shogun as he gets more fed inside of this game, gets the dragon for his team, wins out the team fight, showing us a little bit of the Shogun of old. But again, it feels like if the concentration were there and you jumped into 3 players to start with, maybe that could have been like again, probably 3 players wiped off the map. It does confirm Lord Doms though, finished up here for Shogun, which means that Kiaya is not going to be tanky enough to be able to get through a lot of the Zeri damage, as other items starting to pour through. Jack Show now done as well for Hosmed.
Nash. So there's a Nash start going on. And again, the Jinx ulti to spot out what is going on the tank, and this might be a 50-50. They're not stopping.
No, they're not. Vi is going to have to go over. They're going to jump over. That's ultimate. That's going to be the Baron confirmed. And now the rest of the fight, what is going to happen? See if they can get their way out of the pit before anything else. Shogun's just running forward against this squad. Style gets 1 against Froggy. That's going to be a trade 1-for-1. Now, Kadi has the ultimate as well. Can Shogun slide forward? He's going to make the aggressive play. No, he's not. Instead, Hosmed's just going to run at Style, and Style is basically dead to the world, as it's going to be another kill for Shogun. Baron lost, but it is another fight win for Saigon Buffalo, as probably the only thing that could keep GAM alive. If they lose the Baron and lose the fight afterwards like that, the game is likely doomed. But at minimum, they do have a chance now, because they can contest dragons with this push they've got with the Baron.
I think Shogun has 8 out of 8 kills, by the way, off his team.
Yes,
so he's complete 1v9. Yeah, I mean, so Guri loses the smite fight to Levi here. Nothing too surprising, honestly. Considering these 2 junglers. Froggy's trying to go in, but he's only really tanky. He doesn't have the damage to kill of Style. Then no, Hosmed actually got Xin, so it's 7 out of 8. Scumbag Hosmed is taking the kill. In the end, Style on the wrong side of the map as well gets chased down. Shogun gets the kill, and yeah, I mean that's a really angry Zeri, and the gold is dead even. And on one side there's Zeri, on the other side there isn't. And usually I would bet on the Zeri.
See, the issue I've also got with this game from the side of GAM is that like, they have not pressured Shogun a single time. This would be different if there were times where it's like, okay, Shogun went down in the team fight, or Kiaya's ultimate has been doing well, Vi's ultimate has been doing well, hunting down Shogun. That's just not true. That's a blatant lie in the face of what has been Shogun literally going untouched, unless he is deciding to jump into multiple members and still winning out team fights, which is just insane to think about. That Saigon Buffalo, again, it's literally a 1v5 angle here for Shogun. He's doing everything that he needs to just carry his team across the finish line. And while there is still the risk of this dive ending up working out, especially if some more damage comes through once the hyper shot's ready, for Kadi, maybe the damage is going to be there that Shogun has to play a bit more pensively. But until then, let Shogun continue to kind of run forward in fights, because again, nobody has really been able to do anything against them.
Yeah, and especially in the last fight at the Nash, he didn't have flash. Like, if you wanted to go for him, that was the angle. He didn't have flash. He didn't really have cleanse. Now has cleanse up, has flash up, has the shield bow, has the stopwatch. He is absolutely able to just peel off and make sure that he doesn't die. At least in that one team fight. Now, very quick blades now are being built, and after that, it's probably going towards the GA. So he's gonna be really, really hard to kill.
And he will. This front line also gets thicker by the moment. Like Hosmet and Froggy are slowly getting tankier. When Abyssal is done, once Jack Show is done, you're going to have a pretty solid kind of bank of frontliners to deal with for the side of Shogun. Because you've got this back end damage already. All you really need is a bit more frontline, a bit more survivability, and this becomes really, really menacing to have to deal with. Although GAM is not without fighting back. Again, Kadi's playing really well. Kiaya still, despite some really like a rough ultimate in the middle there, is still doing fine. 1-0 and 4 even in farm with the Cassante. You're doing okay. Again, you don't necessarily have the match for Shogun, but if everybody else can pick up the slack, seems like they're right about dead even in the game. And having a 500 gold lead speaks a little bit to the volumes of GAM. In a game that feels like they should be losing by 5,000 gold, they're actually up right now.
Yeah, and the reason this game is even like at your contest, right, for Saigon Buffalo, that they even get to play is because GAM had one job in this game, and that's do not feed the Shogun. Whatever you do, the Shogun cannot be fed. And they did exactly that. They fed the Shogun. And I think that's the large part is also why this game is even a game to begin with. Because if you don't feed the Shogun here, I think you're completely... now, Saigon deciding to give up the Drake, not really contesting whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Chemtech Soul. It's really not the strongest soul. Yeah. So I think that's fine, but you should be fighting at least on the soul point. Take that, and you should have your Navori in 5 minutes as well. So I think that is the angle here. Get the Navori for Shogun and let him carry.
Yeah, I guess trying to set up more control around Baron area for the next 30 seconds, 1 minute, when eventually they can actually put down the cementing vision where they can look at a Baron and say, hey, we're going to take it, because Baron would likely do the damage necessary to push back 3 full standing towers worth of gold for Saigon Buffalo. That probably kills the game, or at least does a very big number on GAM.
I'm really surprised with the ghosts in this game. Like, Hazmet and Style have really been like ghosting all over the place, honestly. And now engage in mid lane. Guri has
tower. Yeah, Guri goes into Zonia's. That Shogun just kills Levi on the side. Thresh. I mean, Zin gets dragged back into the team. I mean, what else are you supposed to do? That's 2 kills. That's going to be a 3rd kill going to Guri this time more than anything else. Skiai gets absolutely yeeted over top of the wall. But that is a big win here for Saigon Buffalo. They try to push under the mid tower, and it's just not going to work. Instead, now they have kind of free reign to push up mid lane. They don't really care. There's also Baron spawning in 59 seconds. They've got a minute until that comes through. So this damage that they're about to do to the top and the mid lane is going to be more than sufficient for them to probably set up a very easy-to-take Baron, as long as they don't get 50-50 by Levi yet again. Yeah, look at these wards that are already going down. They're going to have complete vision and complete information walking into this pit.
And what is Levi thinking? I mean, Guri has the Zonias, goes into Zonias immediately, and then Levi is just on a turret, and that great ultimate from Guri as well, to split up the team to make sure that Zin is dying. In the end, you can see Kiaya and Froggy are both flying long way here, and yeah, just huge mistake from Levi, who is usually, I mean, who I think is in the run for MVP, best player of the league, and definitely the best jungler, and not really showing that in this game.
Yeah, surprisingly, on 11 kills, it's only 6 assists for Taki, but actually right there, I really like what Taki did, because Taki had more or less a delayed engagement that stalled out the right side of the fight, so they couldn't join under the tower, and it's what allowed Shogun to focus, one member at a time. It was Vi first, and then it was the second member, and then he was able to run over and kind of clean up the style kill before anything else, or assist in cleaning up the style kill. Which helped his team out, because again, they bought all this additional pressure on the map, the mid lane push, all this setup in the jungle that has to be pushed out by GAM, who now Zin is down all of his wards, all of his setup. Froggy almost gets a play onto Style, has to be pulled to safety, has to flash as well.
He does get the play. I mean, Style flashes out, which means Style has such a hard game in front of him, especially with Hazmet always looking for him. And now we're looking at another 50-50, I think, because Levi is already in position to
more ready for it, as that's Levi jumping in. Hazmet's going to actually be able to get out relatively effectively. Kiaya with an amazing ultimate there, as we're still waiting. The damage is just gone. The Shogun is dead. There's nothing left. GAM just wins this fight handily. How was it exactly that they caught onto Shogun that easily? He had flash up, he had everything up, and yet they were still able to run at him like it was absolutely nothing.
Shogun decided to not flash Kiaya's ultimate, and then Zin hit the hook right on top of that, and then he was that. So if he presses F on Kiaya's ultimate, which by the way was just an ultimate, not even a flash ultimate, they win the team fight. But he doesn't press flash, so they lose the team fight.
That's I don't even know what to make.
I mean, that's the duality of being fed on an AD carry, right?
True.
It's like you get to carry the game, your champion is absolutely broken, and let's look at that again. Shogun, 3-man ultimate here from Kiaya, and if he just flashes that, it's fine. But he doesn't. So he's griefer.
Yeah, maybe not expecting the follow-up with Zin's hook right there, or something along those lines, but it is strange. Again, this started off with Style burning the flash. It feels like this should have been a great situation for Saigon Buffalo, especially after the setup that they got. But again, GAM, plot armor, coming back through, getting them into a situation where, like you said, Shogun, not making the play necessary, not using the defensive tool. And now they got a Baron buff, they can shove, they got a soul point on the table. It's not the greatest soul of all time, but suddenly, GAM is back in kind of fighting force here against the side of Saigon. The Buffaloes have been running them most of this game, but the gold lead, everything is back in favor of GAM.
Yeah, but I'm gonna be honest here, nothing really has changed. If Shogun plays it perfectly and they built enough space for Shogun, it's still a win. If they can't do that, it's still a loss.
Okay. Shirelia's got popped. I thought it was the ultimate, but it's not ultimate from Taki that gets popped. Instead, they're just going to walk away. And you could see Shogun kind of eat over the wall just to make sure that he was completely out of position. This is the thing that, like, Shogun has been doing a lot more of this split, is just, like, he will stand forward in fights, but oftentimes will take a much more defensive posturing than normal, because he used to just, like, kind of run at teams. Here we go. Was that an ultimate from Kiaya? No, okay, that was an ultimate. He was just standing forward. As, again, the soul points being contested, Saigon Buffalo looking to maybe fight. They're infringing into the river. 3 members behind the pit right now.
Taki does not have ultimate yet, but it's up in a second. So once that comes up again, they can really start fighting again, because Ari without ultimate completely useless, and Taki's being spotted out.
Yes, 3 members actually kind of infringing upon the blue buff as the Dragons being aggressed against. Kiaya is the only one there. Taki still being kind of bodied out by Zen and by Levi right now, which means that the Dragon is more or less not being hit by GAM. Q shorted, Levi not able to find it. That's the blast killing to knock him out of position, and now they can kind of take everything. As Kadi goes over with the ultimate, Froggy gets 2 with the Moonfall. Both of them going to get out of that situation. Hook is not played. Look at Kiaya's health! Just got ripped through. He's sitting below half health very easily. That's Kadi. No more charges on the Spirit Rush either. That is a lot of tools from GAM that are just gone. If I were them, I would just back out. They have no reason to.
Taki is going for the flank.
Yeah, he's been ready for the flank for the entire time. I think they want this fight, which is why Saigon Buffalo is ready. TP coming back in as Kiaya had to back for health. An additional member, I think it was Hosman, had to do exactly the same. He's going to be coming in, trying to infringe upon the rest of the team. Levi, where does his Q go? Take him in or out of the pit, I don't know. He's going to go back the other direction. And Saigon Buffalo still continues to kind of play with their food here. If they wait too long, it feels like some of the tools are going to come back up. Like the Spirit Rush is already back up. Kadi goes over the wall with the Spirit Rush again. He's going to be able to charm up Guriz. That's going to be the start of the fight. Ultimate's going to get popped by Shogun. Kiai's going to play Ultimate from basically point-blank range. See if Kadi's at the damage. Shogun trying to put out damage onto the rest of this team as the damage healers are going to get driven away. That's Style going down. And now one at a time, the pieces of GAM are going to get knocked over by Shogun as Kiaya is going to fall as well. The Dragon is going to go down. Levi is at basically no health. Froggy's going to try to help chase down Kadi, who's got no mana left. And it's just the hunt going down. Hosmet has the ultimate on. He's got the damage to make this happen. Zin is going to get chased by Froggy as Kadi versus Hosmet. I think the entire time Taki was looking as well to try to find something, as this should be a kill going over. That's a shutdown for Hosmet, who gets everything. Froggy forces the flash out of Zin, who's finally gonna get away. But GAM loses the fight and the Dragon as Saigon Buffalo gets it done again.
So let's start at the beginning. First of all, what the hell is Kati's champion? He ulted 3 times in that teamfight.
Yes.
3 times! And like, I don't mean like single ultimates. Like he used his ultimate 3 times. This is the 3rd time, and finally he lands the charm. He's going on to Guri, but again, Guri has his Zonya, so he survives for a long time. Then great engage here from Hazmet, and then the perfect barrel as well to split up the teamfight. Make sure that Style is completely out of position, and Hazmet takes Style, kills Style, and in the end, Shogun gets the free hit here for the entire deal of the teamfight. He's not in trouble again. Kati doesn't have mana, so there's nothing for him to do, even though he has solid HP together with Zin. They could actually play this if there was any mana on Kati, but in the end, no mana. And yeah, Kati doesn't have his ultimate for a 4th time, doesn't get to get out.
Yeah, and with that, I mean, the amount of gold that just got thrust into Hosmet, he got a big shutdown there with 700, and they got another kill, so that's like 1,000 gold injection into one of your main frontline tanks that Hosmet just got as a result of that fight. And even worse, again, the pressing issue that is faced by GAM, which is even if you get a diver like Kiaya on top of Shogun, there's still no follow-up damage without exposing them to quite a bit of risk. Their style tried to punish him, but Shogun just kind of beat him out in the one-to-one duel as the Zeri just out-damaged the Jinx, and she was driven completely out of the fight, which was absurd to watch happen. And then the front to back is just won when there's no ADC on the side of GAM, as this game has been so close between the two teams. But Saigon Buffalo, like you said, their win condition still lives on forever. I mean, Shogun is just impossible to bring down. Now has Guardian Angel as well, so it's going to be even harder for GAM to ever get a winning team fight.
And I'm not even too sure if I like the GA, because I feel like if he dies, the rest of the team dies around him, and then he comes back to death, and Froggy might be out of position. Nice dodge on the hook from Zin, and now they might be walking it down mid lane. The Nash is spawning in 20 seconds, so that's the objective that we're controlling right now as the side of Saigon Buffalo. And again, we've seen it again and again and again, how hard it is for GAM to walk into objectives, and how at the same time Shogun can carry these team fights.
Okay. GAM on the bottom side, they got 2 minutes till Dragon, so there's no real threat of that. Saigon Buffalo wants to step up into Baron area, but haven't seen it quite yet. Both teams, more or less, just kind of, tiptoeing around one another here in the mid lane as they're looking for some kind of engage to stick. Kiai's got multiple members stacked right here as Froggy's going to hit a decent Moonfall. What happens afterwards, Levi's basically half health. Kiai's pretty low as well. We're waiting to see what ultimates, but Shogun just auto-attacking forward and no one's on him again. Again, Shogun just gets to auto. He gets to focus on Kiai, gets to focus on Levi. Levi's going to slide out after the Guardian Angel gets popped, and that's the only one that goes down. And that's only one that goes down. Shogun is just going to be autoing Raptors, getting Kiaya is out. No ultimate for Style. Not able to find a kill with that one. As miraculously, the two members that were there for GAM end up not going down. But again, Shogun is still untouched in the backline. This is still the problem that's being arisen in the later stage of the game. GAM have to figure out how to bring him down in fights.
And it might be a Nash. That's a TP coming in. Kiaya just walking out. I mean, that's the big issue. This Kiaya is way too tanky, and Shogun right now doesn't really have the damage to burst him down quickly, which means that in the last fight, while Shogun probably did more damage than anybody in GAM's team, it was on Kiaya, and Kiaya ended up living. So that is fine for them. Now the Nash is being started. Kiaya does not have ultimate. Rakan, Taki is looking for recall. Kati might be out of position. Does have ulti though.
They have no smites to kind of contest this, so this is just going to have to be a fight attempt from the side of Saigon Buffalo. They're not even going to get it right here, as they're going to get turned on instead. As that Shogun getting ulted by Vi. Into the backline goes Kiaya. Guardian Angel's not going to get popped. The ultimate's going to be going by Shogun. He's got a lane of people to fire at freely. Can he bring down multiple members at once? Shogun continuing forward. That's the Guardian Angel that's just going to get ditched, and Taki unfortunately has to leave his ADC alone, as that probably the game, the back and forth of the team fights again and again, they finally get one to stick onto Shogun, and with that, GAM is probably just winning the game. And it feels like they do not deserve to win this one. They were losing for such a long time, but again, GAM is just not possible for them to lose.
I also have the feeling like Shogun kind of was left alone. I mean, yes, he got all the kills, but like Froggy isn't doing anything. He's completely useless. This Diana is, I mean, he isn't tanky, he isn't dealing damage, he isn't being annoying to Style, he's just there. And that's not good enough. Gory, I don't know, he had a horrible game, was being caught left, right, and center, being hooked, being jumped, being forced out, not really doing anything. Yes, he had a few nice, or I wouldn't even say nice barrels, he had a few okay barrels to staying up the team, not really landing any good insects during the game, and in the end, it's just, you said it, like it doesn't feel like a deserved win here for the side of GAM, but it is a win, and in the end, as a team, I feel like they played better, even though especially Style was completely outclassed in bot lane.
Like I said, I think Shogun and Taki had great games. Like I think both of them were fine against any other team in the league. That's a one game, almost certainly coming through from the side of Saigon Buffalo. But it's a resilience that is unmatched by any other team. There's a reason why GAM sits at the #1 slot, uncontested, basically always. This is a large reason because even in games like this where you're that far down, when there's that easy of a win condition for Saigon Buffalo, they still find ways to execute on it. One of the biggest ones is that, again, Guri going down in that last fight is what let them go to Baron, what forced Saigon Buffalo's hand of saying either A, you give the Baron and then like we just get to run the map, or you have to fight us around the Baron, and that's kind of what they chose to do because they were a little bit kind of split on decision. And again, I cannot help but wonder if it's BJ in with this veteran experience over top of the rookie who looked so green in this game, what this could have looked like in difference compared to what it did in this game. Again, little moments like that, they're just baffling me as to why Saigon made this decision. And GAM clutches because, again, they're the ones with all the veteran experience. They're the ones that are still running this 5-man roster that's been winning for years. Their winning ways just continue to bleed over again and again.
Absolutely, and I think with that, we give it up into a small pause. Going into game 2, I mean, I would say Saigon showed that they can win games, but my feeling is rather if you don't win this game, what game do you win? And they have to show us what game they're going to win, because I think the fight is still there. The fight is still there to go in and take away that 13-0. I think Shogun definitely showed that he has that fight in him, and I'm going to be excited to see what he brings to the table.
Yeah, at minimum, that's all we have to see as we'll jump into a short break. We'll be back with what could be the conclusion to our regular season here in VCS English here in the spring split. We'll be right back.
dare not speak. Our light can only blind and burn. No mercy for the guilty. Bring down their lying sun. Blood so silver black by night. Upon their faces pale white. Cruel moon, bring the end. The dawn will never rise again.
Welcome back, everybody, to our second game here in the final series of the spring split in VCS English. Our first game was it was a heartbreaker here for Saigon Buffalo, as Shogun wasn't quite able to lift his team up on his shoulders and carry everybody. The back-breaking labor was just too much. As GAM now walks in one game shy of going undefeated in the regular season and maybe potentially pushing for another undefeated split, which would be pretty wild in the grand scheme of things. Tim, what are your thoughts? Are you on the Saigon should beat them train, or are you on the I want GAM to go undefeated train this split for now?
I always want Saigon to win. First of all, so I'm a bit biased, and like I feel like whoever you're talking to in the broadcast is like, I'm a Saigon fan. It's like the entire VCS English is like, we're Saigon fans, and there are some exceptions, but I think nobody like I think it's just such a lovable team, except for Froggy, because Froggy exists. And yeah, I mean, Froggy once again holding back his bot lane. I think Shogun did he play perfect? No. Did he do a few mistakes? Yes. Was it all on his shoulders? Did he get any help from his team? Yes, it was all on his shoulders. No, he didn't get any help. And I feel like that's the big issue. It's like Guri really was just sprinting it for the boys. He wasn't really useful part of his team. At the same time, I feel like Hazmet did fine on the Keisante in lane, but he really struggled to find any good angles in team fights to get onto style, to maybe take out the Malphite far away so Shogun could free play on the rest of the team. Didn't really do that. I think Taki had a solid game, and I think Froggy, I wouldn't really blame Froggy's performance. I would just say, like, you're playing off-tank Diana into a team comp where you're literally going to do negative things on that champion. He didn't kill backline. He didn't even threaten backline. You don't do anything to frontline, and you're not tanky. So he was just watching, really, the game.
It was a weird situation where, again, I think, like you said, I wasn't convinced that Diana was good. I've seen Diana do a lot more, but that was not it. That was perhaps the worst Diana performance I've ever seen from Froggy, which is saying something because I've seen some stinkers. And Guri has looked green on a lot of champions this year, but that game specifically on Gragas was probably the worst one. Although, if I'm being fair, his Gragas has not been good. This is not the champion. I was saying this at the beginning of the split. They kept picking him Gragas. I'm like, this is a champion that ganks and does things and doesn't power farm. And this is a power farming jungler. He plays Talia and he plays it great. He plays Graves and he plays it great. He plays Kindred. He plays it great. Where are these champions at? Like, why are we not picking? Like, especially when Froggy's playing an off-tank Diana and you're going Econ and Hosmet's playing a tank. You have the resources. Just give them to Guri. Let him try to carry, do something, get him some comfort. But this is not the case.
Especially when they're like blind picking vibes. Go Kindred. Kill the vibe.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. Like,
No.
I mean, I guess it is, but like, and also the thing that I think is like, early in this bit, it's like, yeah, Kindred isn't meta, and me. Like, what do you have to lose?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Not
and we're not
a
first picking Vi. We're first
Colonel.
picking Vi.
I mean, do not pick Gragas either.
no.
Come on. At least flex it, please, for my sanity. Please flex it top lane. Like, give it to
It's
Hosmet.
30. Like, I didn't even realize it's picked on third of the games. is 30% win rate, is 31% win rate, and your jungle is shit out of it. Why are we playing Gragas?
I don't know, especially as a first pick. Unless you're willing to flex it to support or to mid lane or to top lane, this pick should not be first picked. Especially because you gave Vi over to Levi, which obviously he did fine on the last game. I don't think it was an electrifying split, but you also give Style like the pick that Shogun was crushing on. Can we at least do something interesting now?
Also, the problem is that Vi counters Zeri.
Yes.
So you pick Gragas, you give Vi Zeri, which means you can't counter Zeri, which means now Zeri has a free game.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
honestly, if that Gragas goes jungle, I think it's a wrap up. I think we can go. It's 2-0 for GAM. GAM is going 14-0. GG well played. Unlucky for Shogun Taki. Get them a new top side, please.
Okay, I'm a little wary about what just happened in the draft because it is Aphelios for Shogun, which is, in my opinion, probably his best carry champ. I think his Aphelios is his best champion by a significant margin. Actually, I think his Sivir is his best champion by a significant margin, but I think Aphelios is right behind it. And then the Thresh is beneficial, and they don't pick Rakan because they know it's Thresh. So now they don't have to ban Rakan because they would have probably picked it here and not worried about it. If you don't ban it, maybe there's like a, we handshake and we say Aphelios Thresh fine versus like the Zeri Rakan, whatever you want to go with here in this particular case. So they're really worried about it, they can ban it. But at minimum, you do have this bit of counterplay with the Thresh versus Rakan that does open up Aphelios and Zeri to both scaling to late, which maybe is something that they can bank on for Saigon if they think Shogun is capable of outperforming Style, which clearly was the case last game.
And okay, so Gragas has a good matchup in Ahri.
Mm-hmm.
There's a really good jungler that is incredibly good into enemy team that we know our jungler is playing really well. How is this not a Kindred pick? We're putting the Gragas into mid lane. We're picking Kindred. We're picking a tank top lane. Go Kindred Ornn and send it. Send it for the boys.
Send it for the boys. Kindred Ornn. I wouldn't even hate Talia Ornn here, to be quite honest. You've got 4 champions that dash.
No, Froggy. Froggy, we're not doing great. There's no Galio angle here. You sprinted, you intentionally fed your team at Worlds on that champion. We're not doing that.
I wouldn't be shocked. And honestly, if he's going to play an off-tank mid laner, if it's not Diana and it's Galio, I'll feel a little bit better about that.
No,
I don't love it. But...
You're not griefing your team intentionally. We are griefing our team intentionally.
I bet he's griefing the team intentionally, apparently, as that is going to be the Jax taken and the Galio taken in the mid lane as well. The new Galio stuff does help out. The RE does absolutely 0 damage against him, so the mid control is decent. The roaming, there's a reason why he picks Galio, and it's because he doesn't have to econ. He can do anything he pleases in the laning phase, and then he just presses ultimate, joins team fights, and becomes a team fighter. That's kind of what Froggy's MO is in a lot of cases. This is the champion he built his it was the rock upon which he built his church. But again, like you said, I'm not loving it because this is basically solo damage again for Shogun. He's not going to do well in the jungle, which has to be your assumption now.
The thing I don't understand about the Galio pick is that Gragas does exactly the same thing. It's basically the same champion, but better. And we put our jungler, who obviously has no idea what he's doing on the champion, again on Gragas, for our mid laner to pick a champion that is objectively just worse.
Gotta be honest, one of the biggest losses that I don't think we talked about too much all over the course of the split for Saigon Buffalo was actually the loss of Ren, because Ren left the team after they weren't able to have a successful Worlds run. And he went over to, I believe it was SBTC Esports. So if you've seen SBTC have a lot more success, especially in some of the drafting and things, Ren was a big portion of why Saigon Buffalo had a bunch of success coming in. And again, now you think about what is this roster turnover? What are some of the draft decisions? What are some of the, and a lot of it comes back to me and I'm like, wow, Ren probably was a very large reason why this team had a lot of the success that they did, because he was able to utilize a lot of these strengths. And this split, they just haven't been able to translate some of the strengths that they've had effectively into meaning any sort of having any sort of meaning against any of these other teams, which is problematic. So GAM walks out of this draft, I think, handily winning. Part of me was just like, I kind of hope we see Heartsteel Kennen again, because I want to see something interesting that keeps my attention to this game.
I mean, the thing with their coaching stuff is that the utility came in, who is a Korean, and he has never coached before, at least not high enough to be on Wikipedia. which is already not a good start, okay, for you to start on. And then my guess is that because he hasn't had any coaching experience and he came in with CNG when like the acquisition process was going on, my guess is he is a team manager who is listed as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
So they might not have a coach because this looks like Shogun. Like this looks like Guri is the inter, so he's being put on whatever the team wants, and they want Gregas. And the rest of the team is just drafting what they want.
Yeah, I'm not willing to be bold enough to make that kind of call, but I think what you're saying is fair to some extent, that this split, it does seem like they have a little bit less direction than they've had in previous splits when they've had what is effectively a very established, solid coach that was with them for a very long time. And it also begs the question, again, utility, I'm assuming he has a lot more authority because I cannot imagine Saigon Buffalo's 4-man stack saying, oh, we don't like BJ. Like, I've seen this team have so much fun and so much entertainment together. So unless BJ is just really toxic behind the scenes, I cannot imagine a world in which they're just like, oh yeah, Guri has to be playing for us right now. But maybe I'm wrong. Let's not speculate on it for too long. Instead, we'll get into our game, maybe our final game of the split.
I mean, like, staying with that point for just a second.
Sure.
I can see that because like what you always have to remember is that it's a team sport, and like clearly they think they're good enough to win the split, right? I think that's pretty obvious.
Yes.
So I think Guri was brought in as a substitute, and to a degree the team might have made a call, as hard as it is, with your friend and with the team being so close, that you need to change something, and maybe they thought Guri might be the way, right? So yeah. And then it becomes, and then it explains also a bit why BJ never came back, because if it was a team decision and not really driven by coaching staff, there's not really like BJ might be, and again we're speculating a bit here, there could be like breakdown right between the team and BJ because they thought they had to bench him, and there wasn't really coaching staff to basically stand up for it and be like, yeah, I'm taking the blame for this, and the players can work together again.
It's a weird split and a weird kind of finish off here for Saigon Buffalo. We're hoping that they could come into this and make some kind of effort towards pushing GAM and pushing them back. And honestly, game one felt like the best opportunity that they're going to have. And now in this game, I mean, we're relying so much more on kind of all the other things, putting it together. They're going back to the Shogun carry strategy. I don't think it's not unreasonable. It's a solid strategy. It's worked for them in the past. So maybe that's just where they've landed as a team. But you can already see some of the things are kind of compounding over. Look at the advantage that KI has already generated over top of the Jacks to kick off this game. Guri is going to be down at least a little bit of space. He's down at camp right now, maybe looking for a bot side dive to happen against Sin and Style, but you're just not going to find that. He's spotted out on a ward. Froggy's getting absolutely devastated in these trades against Kadi. Again, things not going perfectly right now.
No, and I mean, they are getting outscaled pretty massively. Levi now into top lane, wants to dive Hazmat. Hazmat has to turn it.
Okay. Yeah, I actually survives aggro for a second there. Oh, Levi actually took 2 more shots on the tail end. Yeah, we'll play from Hazmat there because that could have been really, really bad.
Anyways, he has to use this TP, and that just means that with the freezing wave, it's not going to be an easy top lane matchup for him. Anyways, it's very easy now for Kiaya to just bully him out because there's also no flash. So Cannon usually isn't really in any danger if there isn't a flash on Hazmat. If Hazmat can E-flash, then Cannon has to be a bit careful, but now that there's no flash that he can use aggressively, Cannon basically is always safe with his own flash up, and in that case he can basically play as freely as he wants as long as he respects Guri a bit.
And paying attention to the wave, notice that Kiaya didn't actually teleport back because the wave wasn't quite stacked enough and Hazmat isn't shoving it. So it means that like Kiaya is going to catch that massive wave without having to TP with basically very little loss. It'll probably end up, look at that. What is that? 3, there's 5 there, that's 8. That's probably 12 minions worth of just gold that's going to be picked up by Kiaya unless he decides not to auto the cannon. I like that they are trying to punish it with Froggy. Again, it was a massive wave that you want to try to deny from Kiaya, but Hazmat taking 2 tower shots might have ruined any opportunity. Nonetheless, Froggy's here. He's going to try to make it happen. TP is going to go their way. He's going to come through. He's going to stick him under the tower. He's going to force the flash. Now Kadi's here. And an absolutely bungled attempt at making Kiaya miss a bunch of wave, kind of a mistimed and misappropriated kind of an allotment of resources right here from Saigon Buffalo leads to a bunch of burnt summoner spells for basically nothing.
Yeah, I mean the top side of Saigon just looks like they kinda don't care. They're just like they're playing and they try some stuff, but if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And it didn't really look like they were in it with their heart. And on the other hand, bot lane was going pretty well for Shogun. Again, both sides with the call, just farming up, trying to be that hyper carry threat. And I think in the last game, it clearly showed that Shogun was the more efficient hyper carry threat.
Yeah, like I said, Saigon's composition to me bodes itself best when it comes to Shogun being able to carry in the late. So as long as bot lane is going fine and not really kind of swayed over towards the style and Xin combination, that's all right. Thankfully, Guri doesn't lose the camp to Kadi as he comes in, but it now has to cover for Hazmet as Hazmet is just getting bullied off by Levi and Kiai here. That's going to be a whole turret plate brought down. Kadi's going to be here too, just for an additional gold. That's a charm. That's a spirit rush burned. Hazmet's not going to fall to any sort of the pressure here. Thought they would get a lot more aggressive trying to shove Hazmet off the wave, because it seems like both top lanes have now been subject to a massive wave stacks that have crashed into the opposing tower, but Kiai is doing a better job of kind of solo keeping Hazmet away by, look at it, half his health is already gone. And yes, he picked up a decent chunk of this wave. If that Q hits, that's almost certainly just a dead laning face here for Hazmet before he backs again.
Yeah, I mean, Kiai got the counter pick and is really using it to just put it onto Hazmet. Making sure, yes, Froggy is picking up a plating in mid lane, but who cares? It's a Galio. It's really not going to scale anywhere. So when the Galio can't really get any side lane plays going, and of course he now has his ultimate, so he has to start. No, we're not talking about Froggy CS whatsoever. But we're not tilting me.
Yeah, so let's ignore that for now. It doesn't matter. The number doesn't matter.
Number does not go blue. And so yeah, I mean, right now he's just not in a good position.
Yeah.
He has to find something with his ultimate, or he's gonna fall off. And on the other side, of course, once Vi hits level 6, Levi can really start putting pressure on and looking for that first. But that's still inside 7.5 minutes, has not fallen yet.
Okay, interesting. Xin had this weird wraparound, but there's 2 more members on the side of Saigon Buffalo that are kind of here. That's going to be a laser from Styles. We're getting a bit of a 4-on-4 here on the bottom side river. That's a chain. That is a really good play. Zone up over the wall. A grab from Saigon Buffalo. That was a perfect chain CC. It started off with a gravitum from Shogun, who just nails it onto Style. And from there, it's Taki, it's the Flay, it's everything kind of being compounded into one. Saigon Buffalo first on the board. Props to them. Guri picks up the kill, but you're going to take that all day. First blood going over, and Shogun being able to shove a wave and make sure Style gets shut down a little bit more. As another play coming through, but it's going to get pulled out. That's an ultimate from Levi, actually, to do everything else. Ultimate from Guri, going to deny anybody else additional pressure. Froggy in the midst, taking quite a bit of damage. Now the ultimate get popped, it gets wasted, but it is a 1-for-1 so far. Taki gets stunned up by Xin. Guri standing in the way to make sure that Kadi is getting body blocked. Now Shogun comes over with red right, ready to fight. And see if there's any additional chase to be had. Xin is basically dead to right now. Shogun's going to run at Kadi, try to make that happen. Look at the crescendum stacks. Is he going to be able to do it? Oh, Moonlight Vigil with the flash. A little bit late on the flash, in my opinion, but that's okay. Going to shove Kadi completely out, forces the flash out of the Ahri, and it's a big winning play. 3-for-1 here for Saigon Buffalo.
Yeah, and again, it's Saigon Buffalo just playing around bot, getting those advantages, and it looks like every time GAM goes toward the bot side, it's an absolute disaster just because the bot lane from Saigon Buffalo is so much better in this game, and we can see the Lantern just saving Froggy for now. Froggy ults in the end, and it looks a bit troll, but it does give the shield to his teammates, that extra magic shield to just make sure that Taki survives in the end. I think it basically saves Taki here as well, because Kati is looking for that kill. And in the end, Taki survives it, and Shogun can't get the kill, but Xin dies on the back end. So, still a good trade for Saigon, but no kills this time for Shogun. A lot of gold for Guri, and we'll have to see if Guri can this time use the gold better.
Ooh, okay. The smite onto the Rift Herald will get it for Levi, but that's going to be Shogun picking up a kill onto Kiaya. As I don't think Shogun's quite done yet. He's got Calibrum and Infernum here ready to go, but Kadi's going to help on the cutoff angle. Style jumps over the wall with the ultimate. He's going to find 1 kill. That's going to be Infernum finished up by Shogun. That's going to be 2 kills now, as the Dusk was able to get quite a bit more, get some auto attack finishes. Now that's going to be Kadi going down, and it's to the Galio, as Levi is just kind of without any teammates. A 3-for-2, 4-for-2, my apologies, for the side of Saigon Buffalo, as they are fighting back effectively in this game.
How good is Shogun, by the way? Like,
He's
this
so
guy
good,
is just, he just smurfed all over. I mean, he basically went like, yes, I didn't have the best split, but I don't really care. We're just going, and Taki missing the hook, but otherwise really strong gameplay from him as well. The Lanterns have been on point, as Guri is inting it into Levi, because Levi is just gapping in the jungle position. Taki, though, gets the kill, and makes sure that Levi does die for his play. And look at Shogun here. He does get the auto tech to kill both. That's just so satisfying. Then gets a lot of damage out on Kati as well. So Kati dies in the end to Froggy as well. Levi finishes him off, but who cares? He got basically 3 kills to himself.
Shogun is a beast. There's a reason why. Part of the reason we love this squad is because when they came into the league, they had a bunch of rookies. Again, they were on the verge of being knocked out in promotion tournament, and they took a big risk by not playing any veteran players, and they brought all of the members up from their B team. Those members included Taki and what was Bean J and Froggy as all members of that team. Shogun got added the next split after Arietti kind of didn't have the greatest splits in the entire world, and Shogun has ever since been like a star in this league, really, really big star. That a lot of people have noticed that Taki and Shogun are some of the best bot laners that we have here in the VCS, if not just straight up the best bot lane pair we have here in the VCS, which is why we hype them up so much, and why I think it's really easy to love Saigon Buffalo, because no matter what the circumstance, they've always got this insanely talented bot duo to kind of be able to bank on. This split, it hasn't been as big for them. That's Taki trying to make a hook happen with the Hex Flash, but it's not going to happen. As this game, again, showing off a little bit more, the Aphelios, in my opinion, is going to be able to do quite a bit, because that's one of Shogun's best carry champions. You're going to see it on display here with the 3 kills already.
Yep, he is an absolute monster on that champion, and it's all going to be also if Guri can really do something with the 3 kills he has, because he has a lot of gold, he has a lot of damage, and he has to find something in, because if we look at top lane, it's don't look at top lane, honestly. We're just not looking there, especially not at DCS that we can see. Same thing in the mid lane, of course. Not as bad, but still not great either. And that just means that Binjay might be not Binjay. Hazmat might be getting Dove on top lane.
Yeah, especially after the TP, that felt like an opportune time for Levi to show up. But unfortunately, there's Vision and there's members heading up here, as well as the Galio dipping out of laning phase. You're just like, okay, if Galio ults, like this play is doomed. So Levi's going to ditch. Instead, they're just going to continue to ramp up this 40 CS advantage that Kiai's got over top of his counterpart. I guess there's a couple of things that are nice here. First off, Kennen getting into backline might be difficult, especially with Taki around Shogun. It's a Leandries instead of like a Ludens or even an Everfrost. They could lock somebody down for a full combo from Kati. So, grand scheme, the threats on Shogun are reduced at least a bit compared to what they could be in most games. But these advantages that they've got in top and in mid will still translate well into team fights unless Shogun is just absolutely popping off, which we saw in last game. That was sufficient for GAM to be able to fight back. We'll see if it happens again in this game.
Yeah, and at the same time, of course, you have the opportunity with Guri to also always mark Kiaya, right? And Guri should be able to basically stand off with Kiaya and just keep him out of teamfights. The problem is that Guri didn't have the best teamfight positionings. He was caught out a lot, so we really have to look if he can be able to mark him and to make sure that he has the teamfight impact he should have with his Gragas, with the fed state of his champion as well.
Yeah, the Night Harvester has been his favorite. There have been a handful of games where he's had some early kills, and he's been able to put out pretty solid damage. This game looking a little less green, not getting run by Levi nearly as much, probably as a result of a lot more team fights and being around the rest of his teammates quite a bit more, as the team, trying to build around Guri. I've been pretty negative on Guri, even though Guri hasn't had a terrible split. In terms of rookie junglers over the years, I would say Guri's split has been perfectly fine. It's that the shoes he was replacing were so massive in Binjay that it's like, okay, I have to have high expectations, because again, you're replacing probably a top 3, at minimum a top half jungler every single split since he's been around, with a rookie that came out of nowhere, and it's like, okay, expectations got to be high. I don't think Guri's lived up to those, but that's not to say that he's had a bad split. There are a lot worse rookie junglers that have come through here in the last few years, and honestly, he's had one of the better rookie splits of all of those junglers. So I'll give credit where credit is due for Guri, because I've been particularly harsh knowing that I like Binjay quite a bit, but
yeah, and it's also because the expectations for Saigon are so high, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like they've been second for 3 splits in a row, I think, before this. So I think going in and being like, your job is to be top 2, right? Like,
yes.
That's like, you have to contest with GAM, and every time you were so close, and no, he's being brought in, I would believe, to give them the edge and say, okay, if you're going into the roster, we have a chance at beating GAM, because that's the really only reason to swap jungler or to swap anybody in that team, right? Then I think the expectations have to be massive, and not living up to those can be rough. But we can see that even with a bad start throughout the split or in the next split, you can really improve. I mean, I think Oscar Rin has been the best example of a rookie coming
Yeah.
in with probably one of the most horrible starts you can imagine. And going into playoffs, I felt like he was probably one of the best performing members in Fnatic. So it's not saying that Guri might not or can't really show that on stage yet, but might be able to show that towards summer, and maybe that's why Saigon is keeping him on.
Yeah, the biggest thing is when BJ came in, he had a very distinctive style because it was Hecarim Udyr meta, and he was able to have these really, really influential early game plays. And I don't think again, Guri's style is a little bit different because he's not super into ganking and having massive map impact. He's normally into doing damage. Even on the Gragas, he just doesn't have the same kind of map impact that other junglers might. But he does damage really well when he has it available. The Talia has been great. Again, I've been waiting for a Graves game because I think his Graves was probably my favorite champion I've ever seen him play. He literally he Flame Horizon. I think it was Penguin. He Flame Horizon Penguin on a Hecarim as Graves, and he was just 1v5ing a game, which is what made me excited for this guy. So when the time comes, I'm hoping we get some more opportunity. Dragon's going to be up here in another second, and both teams are more or less kind of posturing in that direction, because maybe we'll get our first semblance of a team fight here soon.
Absolutely, and now we can see Cardi getting buff power, but Froggy is not really caring about that. He is fine giving up some CS, making sure that his team has him as support. He's moving up away a bit, but he always has that ultimate to make sure to lock down the enemies and of course help his team with the shield as well. Mid prior so far for Shogun, but position over to GAM.
All right. Now, second dragon of the game. This is also a 17-minute second dragon, which means we're going to be here forever. I know you joked about it before our series started that this was going to be like a 30-minute series or something like that. We're probably not even getting a 30-minute game here, unfortunately, Tim, because we might be here for some time. The game has been slowed to an absolute snail's pace, which has given us time to talk about a bunch of narrative stuff. But putting us to sleep at least a little bit. That's a jump in from Froggy trying to find something. Dragon's going to go down. Style's going to get caught on the back line. That's going to be a Vi ultimate trying to get onto Shogun. He's way in the back right now. He gets ulted up by that as well. The Galio ultimate tries to save him, but Froggy's not going to be able to be there in time as 2 members are going down, 3 members are going down, and the team fight goes the way of GAM as somehow Levi is able to find an amazing ultimate to deliver onto Shogun without any response from the rest of Saigon Buffalo. They're going to snowball that into a big tower in the mid lane.
Huge play also from Style, being on the flank there, being able to instantly follow up onto Levi because he was jumping over the wall. Nicely done from him. Look at where he positions himself. He jumps over this wall, is instantly ready to just get onto Shogun as well, together with Kiaya as well, who comes from the top lane, TP'd in. And on the other hand, Hazmit is chilling in top lane right now. He is still a bit confused. Thinks his team is fine. It is not. My son, you have to be useful for your team. Or by you here.
Sorry, who did you say that in reference to? I missed that.
Hazmit, who's just Giga Chat, not TPing, not taking turrets, just watching.
He's chilling in the game, trying to farm up, get to a point where he feels strong. But I feel like that point is long gone at this junction. There's not even like a side lane either. Like, you went direct to Sunderer, so it's not like you went Blade of the Rune King. He didn't go Wit's End to try to fight up against Kiaya. He went Merc Treads, he went Sunderer. This is like this is not my favorite idea of a way for this game to progress as the Jax, because like I said, he's slow. He's not going to be in team fights anytime soon, probably, because he still feels weak. There's no like edge to this either. Interesting.
Yes.
And now GAM is just getting run all over like they're running all over Saigon Buffalo. Like, look at this entire bot side control. Mid towers got pushed in, bot towers got pushed in. They got wards all the way up and down this jungle. There's just no infringing upon GAM's pushing down here.
Yeah, now that they have the control on bot side, they can just swap it up to top side, make sure that Saigon Buffalo has to clear it out on bot side and to even play, and then start just with catching out Hazmit probably. There's no turret, so they can long chase this.
Yes, they absolutely can. And it's a question of whether there's actually a response or not from the rest of the team. As Hazmit's going to jump in, try to get some damage on Kadi. There's a lot of members here, though. Counter-Strike's not going to get you out of dodge. The best you can do is try to give the kill over to somebody who doesn't matter that much. And that's not the case, because Style is going to be picking it up. Rifthelm's going to get dropped on the bottom side of the map, but they are so far out from that tower. I don't think that's going to end up meaning anything. Yeah.
Well, you said that this might be more than 30 minutes. I think this could be less.
Yeah, I mean, I had also said that before I said that at a 17-minute Drake #2 that they lost a fight at, and now have officially gone down 3,000 gold and are about to give up a Baron at 20 minutes into the game. So information comes as information goes, if you know what I'm saying. But they're going to try to fight it at minimum.
Spotted. on the
Okay,
side now.
not terrible. Yeah, Kia's not going to get a solid flank. They're going to get Zin. Okay, that's at least one thing that they're going to be able to grab up. There's no way the Baron goes over to the side of GAM now, so there's too much low health bars. And now Saigon are the ones that say, hey, let's just take the Baron. Why don't we? We got a teleport coming in now from Hosman. He's going to be able to push on the back. I worry that he's going to get brought down by Kia, but he's going to jump right over the pit. Now, Levi, okay, that's a hook from Taki. They're going to get onto Kia. And now Styles going to get stunned up by the counter-strike. And there we go. We've actually found a couple of opportunities. Saigon Buffalo can turn right back for the Baron. Kadi and Levi still available, but Kadi under some legitimate threat from Shogun's damage. Saigon Buffalo is not going to stick around any longer. They're not going to 50-50 this with a potential smite fight from Levi, but they'll take their couple of kills. They'll neutralize a bit of the gold lead.
So you kind of cast a curse Saigon with saying the game goes long. Then I cast a curse GAM because they kind of finish it quick, and Saigon gets one back. So
this whole time, Rift Herald has, like, Shirley has been absolutely kicking the shit out of bot side. Look at that. There was a full tower that got taken first, and then he just got 75-80, or she just got 75-80% of the second tower as well, which sets up so heavily. Look, the wave is so far up on bottom side, they actually could just deploy into Dragon and try to look for an Infernal Soul point setup here. As Saigon does have a win condition. Their win condition is let's get Infernal Soul, because that will win them the game.
yeah, but Froggy doesn't have TP in his topside right now, so I think they're not playing the Drake because they're completely in topside right now, clearing out the vision around Baron. So they might be looking to trade Baron for Drake, maybe.
I mean, I wonder. What are your thoughts on that? If you're GAM, which do you take in this case? Like, do you take that trade?
I mean, honestly, as GAM, you just walk at Baron and kick Saigon in the nuts. Honestly, I think that's what they do.
Okay, interesting. We're gonna start it off, which feels like a weird play.
Hazmat is not looking so hot.
That's okay. They had interior pressure. Now they're going to get shoved up in mid lane, and that means that Saigon Buffalo has to full retreat off the Baron and come back, which just means that GAM should go to Dragon right now. Like, they should deny.
I think they can take tier 2 turret here and then take the Drake off.
Just gonna get everything. They just get everything. I mean, why not? It's an all-you-can-eat buffet where GAM doesn't have opposition. I mean, there's not, like, what is going on here? The Saigon Buffalo was, like, so intent on baiting the Baron right there that they just gave up on the map completely. As it's going to be the Infernal Dragon getting aggressed on by two members. They're gonna have to start the Baron, like, now if they want it to go through. But
yeah,
they're just gonna 50-50 on a fight, I think.
They're doing the same thing again. I think they're not starting it. They're stating that they started it. I'm not sure what Guri is.
He's got the deepest flank in the entire universe right here. The punch from hell. Guri's going to be able to find one. That is a takedown onto Ari, which is a huge shutdown for Shogun. That is a big win. So I think it was 1,000 gold shutdown that just went over to the side of to Shogun, which was massive. And now they're going to start up the Baron, up a member. They don't have Guri's flash, but I think they're okay with that. They still have a lot of the ultimates still available. They've got, like, the Galio ultimate. They've got the Moonlight Vigil. There's the engagement. Taki's actually going to flay, going to have everything else come through. Vi is able to get onto Shogun once again. He Gale forces out. He finds a big Moonlight Vigil. As that's two more going down as a result of just Shogun's last-ditch effort. It's again, Saigon Buffalo takes a fight around the Baron. They get a couple of kills, but they don't get the Baron.
This game is something, for sure. I mean, Shogun, again, trying his best, really being under pressure. This time, obviously, he doesn't have the mobility that Zeri had, and there's a very good lockdown on the other side with Levi as ultimate and Kiaya's ultimate as follow-up. Hook from Taki doesn't hit. If that hook lands, then Levi's probably just dead in CC. We can see that Shogun survives for a pretty long time, and gets Moonlight Vigil out, gets to burst two people, and he is stacking those kills. He's stacking that gold, and at some point he might be strong enough to carry those teamfights. But we said that in the last game as well. This game, though, he has Infinity Edge, and Infinity Edge goes bonk.
That it does. The only problem with it is that this game, the Shogun's been dove so much more easily than the previous game. When he was on the Zeri, they were having trouble basically getting anyone onto him. Even when Kiaya or Levi would actually find an ultimate, there was just no follow-up. In this game, it has been consistent that Levi presses ultimate and then immediately Kiaya jumps on top of him and the Slicing Maelstrom does a bunch of the health of Shogun. So the Bloodthirster will help with that a little bit with the shield. But I also like that Galio, Froggy was a lot more proactive with the ultimate this time, using it for a bit of the magic shield and denying, or at least knocking up Kadi, knocking up Kiaya as they try to make that follow-through happen onto their AD carry. Very warranted and very necessary ultimate to make sure in future fights that same thing is punished to a much larger degree than it has been. As Shogun finishes up his Infinity Edge, now he has hit the true power spike of being able to full carry this game potentially.
And the problem is also that, of course, you have Style on the other side on the Zeri, has his Navori soon, and husband might be aggressed on. Nope, he's fine. Kia decides against it, and I mean, we might see Saigon walking at Baron once again. It worked out kind of okay for them, and this time there's no Drake for them to lose, so could be the angle.
Yeah, 2.5 minutes away. This would also be an optimal time to bait, because either a fight goes down and you lose it, then you can go back out on the map and try to get back for Dragon, or if things go poorly, you just back off. You try to poke them if they go in for the Baron. You again stick around until it's time for Dragon. You win a fight. You could win the Baron. There's a lot of options here. Again, the game is rough if you lose it and lose the Baron, but that's going to happen no matter the circumstance. So I don't mind the Baron bait kind of strategy that they've been going for consistently here. And now that Shogun's on Infinity, it just feels like the optimal time to be pushing for something like this. Really try to push GAM to the absolute brink.
The problem is that the weapons are pretty bad right now to start any kind of Nash take, so they're probably just looking for better weapons on Shogun to make sure that he can actually play those fights effectively. And now we see that GAM might be looking towards that Nash, or they're just clearing vision. So nothing really happening.
Yeah, nothing crazy. Instead, it's a 1:37 back timer here for the side of Saigon Buffalo. So they get out, they get some items, they get some wards, they're going to go out. I want to see them set up not Baron side, but Dragon side. I really think this Infernal Soul is a much better and easier win condition. They still might get these fights, but at minimum, if they set up Infernal Soul, it'll be so much damage that they are getting onto Shogun, getting into even like Guri and Froggy and Hazmed, who have been behind in the game, would pick up a lot more damage with the Infernal Soul coming through. It'd be a much better win condition to me than continuing to try to pull a couple of kills here and there around the Baron buff.
I think you can start Baron right now, bait them into the fight, and with that try to take Dragon. So you win the fight around Nash, and then you take the Drake with the one fight. I think that can be the angle here, because there is no Drake to trade now, and Guri is going for the long one again.
Yeah, honestly, the deep flank from Guri worked out so well last time, but this time the fight could collapse in the wrong direction. That's a play on a Kiai. Kiai is just almost dead. I was going to say dead, but the Moonlight Vigil actually missed, and now Shogun's getting aggressed against, and he's just killed by Kadi outright. The rest of his team fully abandoned him. It was just Shogun and Daki sitting in the river. This is why I didn't like this. This is why I didn't want this. They had to play picture-perfect fights every single time in order to get out of this situation unscathed. And now Saigon Buffalo is going to fall behind 4,000 gold. They're going to fall down the Baron. They're going to fall down the Dragon. And the game's over. Like, the game is just over. There's no way that the GAM is going to be able to get themselves, or going to be able to shoot themselves in the foot hard enough to lose this one against this team now.
Get Shogun out of Saigon's person, man. Like, he needs a new topside. The entire topside just leaving the AD carry out to drive for no reason at all. I mean, going into Kiaya, trying to burst him out, fair enough, but Guri just kicking it away, by the way. Like, he saved Kiaya as well. Like, he just ulted him away, so no. And
we'll speak on GAM now as this fight kind of takes place. And look at this, all three of them. Froggy realizes his mistake and he tries to get back, but he gets stopped up by Levi. And look at that, Style and Kadi, they just run directly at them. This actually goes into another point about GAM, which is it's looking right now like they're going to have another undefeated split. They're going to walk into playoffs and they could potentially go 14-0. They could potentially, maybe not even drop games in playoffs or drop very few games in playoffs. And as a result, they're going to be walking into MSI as the absolute guaranteed best, one of the best rosters ever sent to MSI by the VCS, because they missed it last year as a result of going to the Asian games. So this is going to be GAM's first attempt going there since like 2019 or something along those lines. So it's been a long time since they've represented, and it's the best time because for the last few years we've had our criticisms of some of their players. Sometimes Kiaya is snoozing, sometimes Kadi's snoozing. In my opinion, even though Levi is having a split, I actually might vote that Kadi's the MVP. Kadi has had amazing performances, and that right there, picking off Shogun, was emblematic of how the split has gone. Kadi has just been an absolute rock in the mid lane for this team, not being a hindrance, not being the worst player on the team that we've had kind of issues with in the past. Instead, he's performing at the top level.
Yeah, I mean, the only positions I would say that I might be a bit worried for going into MSI might be that bot lane position, because we've seen how exploitable they are against somebody like Shogun and Takio. Obviously are very strong, but they have also shown last MSI entered Worlds as well that they can step up to any international competition and beat them. So I think it's something it's a bot lane that if they are on the top of the game, you have to be able to beat to do something internationally, and they're not really able to.
Just gone is Guri. The hook from Taki brings a couple in, but the Moonlight Vigil ends up getting a bunch of Chakram out, but it's not going to matter at all. You can see the damage is piling up on Zin, but it doesn't matter. GAM doesn't care. They're walking at the base. They're bringing down bot inhib. They're bringing down mid inhib, and there's no fight to be had. Shogun's down Moonlight Vigil. He has Infernum, which is nice. That's a great gun to try to hold in this situation. Great gun to potentially set up a team fight that could save the base, but I just don't think... I look at this. They've given top Nexus Tower. Like,
Yeah, I mean, Froggy's looking angrily at enemy team, and Shogun is asking himself why the hell Froggy picked this champion, probably. But yeah, it's probably gonna be the game
final
here.
Attempt.
Froggy's trying.
Vi ultimates, Galio ultimate's gonna stop up a couple of members, but they kill like Shogun just way too fast. As just like that, there's one kill going back. Kadi's pretty low health, but they just don't have the damage dealers to finish this out. And just like that, GAM Esports. They went 13-0. We were worried about this game. We thought, hey, Saigon Buffalo might have some fight back, but that's not the case. GAM instead, they are going to take another undefeated 14-0 split. This has been the number one team for such a ridiculous amount of time that I'm not even that shocked about it. I don't think I'm walking out of anything. As soon as they got past the last couple of games, like this is the last hurdle to overcome. But GAM Esports, it cannot be understated just how ridiculous that this team truly has been in this league. And their reign of dominance, their reign of terror continues even now as they walk into playoffs here for spring. And the fact that they haven't been to MSI has been criminal. It was for a number of different reasons. It wasn't a lack of performance. They were still winning when they weren't going. I'm super excited to see what they're going to be able to look like as an undefeated squad potentially walking into MSI. I know they got to go through playoffs, but right now I don't see a team contesting them.
I mean, you know that you're like a team is ridiculous dominant when the records that you're talking about they haven't achieved is like going like defeatless in a split, like going straight up 28-0. Like that's what we're talking about. Like they and not having actually achieved, because they already went completely undefeated. Because in spring playoffs last year they already did that. They won playoffs as well. So, like, what we're talking about in terms of not achieved records is, like, not losing any games during a split.
Yes.
Which is ridiculous.
It is unreal, the level of performance that is able to be given by this team at any given time. Look at this damage chart. Like, this is the saddest damage chart I've ever seen. 5.6k for Jax, 8.5k, like 13 and 14 for Gragas and Aphelios is fine because they had no space to work with. But, like, look at Kadi, look at Kennen, like, look at this ridiculous, man. This team is so good. And I know Saigon Buffalo didn't care that much. They were a little bit defeated walking into the end of the splits. Not the best performance from them. They're going to come back next split with a little bit of growth potentially behind them. But GAM is not going to not continue their winning ways any time forward, because now you've got so many additional weapons thrown into the arsenal. Like the Kennen for Kiaya has become just an absolute beast. It was permabanned against them most of the time. I was surprised it kind of went through today. Jace is still on the board. Wukong is still on the board as like top tier champions that you cannot give over to the side of GAM or just crush them. So I think they're jockeying for the best position I've seen them have inside of the VCS in a very long time.
They absolutely are, and with that, I think we're done for today. There's a tiebreaker tomorrow for second place. The team who does not have to face GAM. I mean, honestly, and to be fair, I think we're all in agreement that that Cerberus should be chosen. So tomorrow is basically best of 3 for side selection. In the rematch that they're gonna have in the playoffs, Team Way skiing against SBTC. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning. It was now changed on Wikipedia as well. So I think you're back for that. I'm not.
I have no idea. We don't know who's casting it because we have to figure out who's available. But if it is early enough, then it will be me at the absolute crack of dawn, being miserable before I have to go to a full-time job for the day. But you know what? That's what we do here at the VCS, is we suffer alongside all you fine folks. As we'll get a chance to see what our playoff standings are going to look like, whether or not GAM decides to pick one of these two teams or go after Cerberus. It's been a wonderful season. Again, Spring Split was really exciting up until the last possible moments, and we're looking forward to stepping off into playoffs and sending one of our teams up to EMSI with very, very high hopes. So yeah, stick around. See you tomorrow for our final game of the regular season, technically, because it's just tiebreaker, but see you then.